People of the interwebs, my name is Garrett. This is The Protectors. Thank you so much for tuning in today. In today's video, we are going to be going over the differences between the Glock 19 and the Glock 26. For those of you thinking about picking up either of these for home defense or concealed carry, this will be a quick little video that you can refer back to on what are the benefits and disadvantages of these two particular guns when compared to each other. As many of you guys are aware, Glock is the poster child for reliability, and for those of you looking at getting your first firearm, you probably are looking at a Glock first and foremost, just statistically speaking. The Glock 19 is one of the best-selling guns in the country. I believe it's actually the #1 selling gun in the country even today. They're currently on the 5th generation. However, I only have Gen 3s of each of these available to me at this time. But for the purposes of this video, that's not going to make a difference. Now, as you guys can see, both of these guns are clear. There is no magazine near them. Everything's safe and good to go here. First, what we're going to do is take our Glock 26, as you can see, and our Glock 19. As we have our Glock 19 and Glock 26, if I stack them on top of each other, or better yet, there's a size comparison of the two weapons, right? As you can see, as with the mag wells flush together, if you want to do the slides lined up perfectly together, if you guys want to do the slides perfectly lined up together here, there we go. See with the slides lined up, the 19 is a bit longer and it has a longer grip as well. What are the benefits of this? As you can see in the Glock 19, we have this rail that you can use to attach a flashlight to, so you can see what you're aiming at in the dark. Useful feature. Right, the frames are basically the same, nothing new there. The standard capacity of the 19 is 15 rounds. If you live in a communist state like myself, it's 10. No benefit in capacity for us communist suffering folks to go up to a bigger one. Now, if you notice, your pinky hangs off the bottom of the 26, and that is actually by design. You can, however, get a different base plate for the weapon if you want. The standard capacity of the 26 is 10, but the base plate upgrade that is from Glock is +2, which brings it to 12, and the base plate gives your pinky a place to rest. As you can see with this base plate extension, you do get a place for your pinky to rest. Now, being in California, and you guys are probably wondering, but how can you have this and not be a felon? Well, I did it during Freedom Week when it was legal for us to acquire, manufacture, import, and all the other fancy words to get more than 10-round magazines, standard mags. So that is when I got that. If you take a 10-round mag and add that base plate in a restricted state such as California, it is a crime. They do, however, sell base plates that add kind of this extension here onto the Glock 26, but they do not add capacity. For those of us in restricted states, you can do that all day long. Nobody's going to complain. I personally like the extension, not only because it adds 2 rounds of capacity to my gun, which in a gunfight is incredibly important. I have yet to hear of anyone in a gunfight complain about having too much ammunition. Take that information and do with it what you will. It is better than nothing, and frankly, it's not bad. You just might get your pinky pinched a little bit on it. It's happened to me. It's happened to a good friend who has the same gun, and it has happened to my wife. However, with this base plate extension, I have never had that happen. So do with that information what you will. So when we talk about these two, right, the Glock 26 does not have a rail that light attaches to the trigger guard. Still very cool. It's the Streamlight TRL6. The Glock 19 has a rail so you can put something like the Surefire X300 on it. which is objectively a better light, and it sticks out past the barrel here. One massive benefit about using the Glock platform is the magazines are interchangeable. Here we take this 12 round magazine for the Glock 26, we'll put it in our gun, it seats perfectly. Here is the Glock 19 magazine. Take that, and look, it clicks into our Glock 26. So you can use that. And here is the 33 round stick magazine. Now these things are funny because they say they're for the 17 and 34, but they work in the other Glocks. It's a little bit of wiggle in there, but I have shot this thing with that mag in there, have not had an issue. Now the only drawback about that, the Glock 26 magazines are not compatible with the bigger models, as are the Glock 19 magazines not compatible with the Glock 17. I don't have one here to demonstrate that for you guys, but you can see the big magazine, and you've seen this in my testing if you are watching the review video for this guy. I think I'll end up putting this one up first, so stay tuned to the channel for the 1,000 round review on this. I'm going to have 3 parts to it, so stay tuned for the reviews on this guy. So aside from the magazines being interchangeable like this, why else would you want a Glock? Well, and this is not an advertisement for Glock. They don't sponsor me. They probably never will. I just think their guns are great, especially for people looking to get into guns. They're incredibly low maintenance, and they are so common. There are tons of accessories like different sights you can get, different slides. There's tons of clones out there if you don't want a factory one. They're a great base gun for somebody getting into it. And they are everywhere. You can find them at basically any gun store. I would be shocked if you couldn't find a Glock in a gun store, and not because they're sold out, but because they just don't carry them. But that aside, so for those of you looking to get into the Glock world or the gun world and you decide you want a Glock, what it comes down to is you're picking between the compact and the subcompact if you don't want the full size. Let's say you're looking for a concealed carry. We have a compact and a subcompact here. I showed you earlier about the length and this, right? You can conceal carry both of these guns, no problem. Now the thing you have to decide is if you want a light on, because I can tell you carrying this one with the light has been super uncomfortable. I haven't tried this one with it. I don't have a holster for that yet. You do have to get a different holster for a light. And if you decide you don't want to carry with the light, you're going to need to get a holster that does not support the lights. They're very particular about that. The guns will not sit in the holsters correctly, and you don't want that. So what are the advantages of compact versus subcompact? What reasons would you want either of these things? Well, compact is kind of a hybrid between the full-size and subcompact. Kind of obvious, but that is what it is. It gives you some concealability, and it gives you a decent amount of capacity, right? You have 15 round standard capacity magazines. Due to the Glock 19 being bigger than the 26, it will have less felt recoil, and it is easier to control. So that is one thing to consider. However, the Glock 26 is smaller and easier to conceal. So if you don't have a lot of room on you, or if you're carrying off body in a bag, you don't need as big of an area to carry the weapon as you otherwise would. And with the base plate, like we talked about earlier, you don't really have to worry about the grip and control as much. In terms of reliability, they're both Glocks, so they're the same reliability. And one thing with semi-auto pistols, and especially with these, is you must have an incredibly tight grip. Not like a Vulcan death grip or anything, but you need to have a tight and firm grip on the weapon. If you're limp wristing it, it will not cycle. So for people with weaker grips, that is one thing to consider. You might want to consider a revolver in that case. But this is a much different topic that we're getting off on, so I'm going to cut it off there. So for those of you guys that are trying to decide between getting a Glock 19 and a Glock 26, I hope that this information helps you. They're both fantastic weapons. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below. If you made it to the end, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out, and it helps us get pro Second Amendment content out to people who haven't been exposed to it. You hear that from a lot of YouTubers, but it is true. If we want to change the laws in this country, we must change the culture first. That's why it's important to get as many people into this wonderful community as we can. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Spread the good word and say no to communism.